I'm tired of crying all the time. I'm tired of being stressed out. I'm just tired. You are your first job. You wake up in the morning, you are the first person that you need to take care of before taking care of anybody else. Within 6 months of learning energy healing and getting into self-care, I healed my anxiety and depression 100%. You can design your life. You can design how you exist. You can design your reality. All you have to do is use your thoughts, use your emotions, and have fun.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Vibrant Soul Society, The Conversations. I'm your host, Baba Sam, the Miracle Man. Our mission for the show is to help you to discover that you are greater than your thoughts. Today, we are very privileged to have a bright, vibrant soul with us, Tenya. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the conversation. So, if people are not familiar, who is Tenya?
Gosh, first and foremost, I am a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a loyal friend, I'm a sister, I'm an energy healer, and I'm a self-care coach.
Okay, great. So what got you started on the energy healing? What was that process for you to get where you are today?
So in 2018, my husband and I bought our forever home, and it's right off of the Chesapeake Bay. Our twins have graduated high school. Our oldest is getting ready to graduate college. My husband is getting ready to graduate college. And so life seems pretty amazing. And we move in during the winter, so it's very quiet on the beach during the winter. There's not a whole lot of excitement. And so we were inside a lot. And I noticed that my anxiety and depression that I had struggled with all of my life was really starting to come back up and say, hey, we really need you to pay attention to us right now because you don't have any kids that are taking up your time. You don't have a hard job that's taking up your time. And so now it's time to give us some of your time. And I kept pushing them away. I was like, no, I don't want to deal with you right now. I moved into my new home. I want to enjoy it. And I just kept pushing them down. And it got to the point where I couldn't push anymore and I needed to get some help. And so I went the traditional route at first, medication, talk therapy. And after 6 to 8 weeks, I was numb from the medication, and the talk therapy just felt like I was talking about the same things over and over again with that therapist that I had with every other therapist. Was not getting anywhere. And so I sat at my desk and I was just like, give me something that is going to get rid of this anxiety and depression. I'm tired of crying all the time. I'm tired of being stressed out. I'm just tired. I Googled holistic emotional healing because I didn't want to ingest anything to get rid of the anxiety and depression. And this modality called the emotion code popped up. And I was like, okay, well, that seems interesting. And the more I dived into it, the more I noticed that, or not noticed, but what it just kind of like it took me back because I was like, how are we going to release trapped emotions with a magnet going over the top of my head? Like it didn't make any sense to me. But I was like, you know what? What do I have to lose? I'm not ingesting anything. It's not going to hurt me by doing this. It's a refrigerator magnet. Let me give it a shot. So I signed up for a session with a practitioner, and that was it. It wasn't gone the first session. It wasn't gone after the fifth session, but after each session, I felt better and better, longer and longer. And what helped me to clear away enough stuff, enough baggage, enough of the trauma energies from my childhood, from whatever my parents passed down to me, to be able to start implementing self-care, to start implementing meditation and journaling and getting back to walking and getting movement in and paying attention to what I'm putting back into my body. And within 6 months of learning energy healing and getting into self-care, I healed my anxiety and depression 100%. And that was 4 years ago last week.
That's great. So the first time you went to this emotional code, you found some kind of healer that used a giant magnet. Is that what they were using
Well,
in
it's a
practice?
refrigerator. Just a refrigerator magnet. So what it is the emotion code is using muscle testing, which is, you can use the ring to ring method. If you can have someone do it on you and they could push down on your arm, but it's asking your body, do you have a trapped emotion of anger? Or do you have a trapped emotion of anxiety? And if your muscle tightens up and locks, then the answer is yes. And so then you take the magnet, you go over the top of your head 3 times with the set intention that you're releasing that trapped emotion. And the way I felt after the first session, I had not felt that light in a long time.
Mm.
And after the third session I had because I went to 3 different practitioners, because I was just like, let me see if it works with another practitioner. Because I was taken back by how well this worked to make me feel better. And by the time I was done with the third one, I decided to sign up and get my certification just to help myself and my family. I found that much value in it.
So from that point, so that's we have to understand that we're all energy and we had to find energy to balance energy. Some
Right.
energy is out of balance. We find an energy to bring it back into balance. That's very interesting. So that was your first step, was this getting this energetic clearing. Then after that, you found meditation and the other practices.
Yeah. So I had tried meditation before, off and on for years, because my mom used to teach meditation to kids in the neighborhood, and I could never stick with it.
Mm.
And I think what happened was the thoughts that would keep racing through my head were attached to some of those trapped emotions and those trapped energies that were released. Once those energies were cleared, I was able to then get into a mindfulness practice, whereas I
Mm.
hadn't been able to do it before.
All right, because it's still the mind enough so you could sit
Yeah.
and learn to be present.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I learned too through meditation mindfulness, was to learn to be present.
Mhm.
But I was fortunate that I could see that I have thoughts, but I wasn't my thoughts. If I wasn't my thoughts, who am I?
Right.
So that's how I went down that journey, and everything went away.
Mhm.
That's what it was for
It
me.
can, yeah, and I think it's wonderful, and I think it's we should point out that there are so many different ways to
Hmm.
feel better.
Yeah.
There's not just one way, and no one way is the right way.
Right. Yeah, that's why I have all these different guests on, because there's a million and one ways. There's 8 billion people, there's 8 billion ways.
Yeah.
We have to find the way that resonates for you. For
Yep.
some, it would be using magnets to clear energy. It could be meditation, it could be some hands-on practices.
Yep.
But you have to find that thing that resonates with you. So
Yeah.
when you were Googling, the word emotion code jumped out to you for whatever reason. It was like, oh, what's this?
Right. And it's gotten to the point in my practice where I don't even need a magnet anymore. The magnet is just more of for me, it's more of like showing your client that you're using something else to help heal them. But really, it all comes down to our intention. It comes down to how we're feeling when we want to release those emotions. Are we ready to let go of them? So I don't even use a magnet anymore. It's all with intention, and it's all on the vibration of love, because that's one of the highest vibrations that you can clear from.
Love is the highest
Yeah.
vibration. So everything
Yeah.
else is below that and splits from the energy of love. So you said about you had like 3 treatments and you noticed your anxiety and depression was a lot less.
Each day, each session, it would get a little bit less. And then I would feel like it was coming back. And then it would go down with the next session. Then I felt like it was coming back. And what I learned was we are an onion, and our emotional baggage, our trauma that we went through is also an onion. And one session was not going to completely get rid of it. And it wasn't going to completely get rid of it because I didn't know how to process new emotions that would be coming up either. I had to relearn how to reparent myself and how to have those emotions so that they didn't get stuck again.
Mm.
Or else the energy work wasn't going to do me much good, because I was just going to add more stuff back into those spaces where the energy was cleared.
Right, because the mind really dislikes change. This is what I
It
find. The
does.
mind dislikes change. So if I take somebody from a really high level pain level to nothing, sometimes it will stay nothing, but most of the time it will come back and might say, "Hey, what's different here? Let's pull that back."
Yeah. And it's not so much that you're missing something, it's that there was something there that wasn't ready to be cleared at the time that you cleared everything else.
Yeah,
How I look at it. It's not that it was missed, it's just that there was something that was so deep underneath those layers that you had to get rid of stuff before it would reveal itself.
so yeah, that's why I saw some people, sometimes it's like baking a cake, it's a slow process, and
Yep.
sometimes it could be like a microwave. It
Absolutely.
just depends where you
Absolutely.
are.
Yeah, it depends on how emotionally intelligent someone is, because if they're not willing to be mad sometimes, if they're not willing to be sad sometimes, then you're going to be pushing things down again. And if you don't take care of your physical body, that's when the pain can return because you're not taking care of that physical part of you. We have to take care of the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual bodies all at once.
Yeah, to see that it's all about holistic, really coming into harmony, coming into balance, the whole body. And you're helping people with this self-care. And some of the self-care practices you have is meditation is one of them.
Meditation, journaling, learning to set boundaries and how to hold them. My favorite book, I have all of my clients read the Four Agreements. Be impeccable with your word, don't make assumptions, don't take anything personally, and always, always do your best. I love that book. It's my little Bible. Other things are like how your thoughts create things, how we create our own reality through our thoughts, gratitude, having a gratitude practice, being grateful for the smallest things, like the mouse for your computer, right? Because it's one of those simple things that we take for granted. And when
Hmm.
it breaks, we realize, gosh, we really, really needed that.
Well, the body is good for taking things for granted that we don't even realize. You know, when I
Hmm.
lost the ability to walk, we forget that appreciation that, oh, I can get myself a glass of water. But
Yeah,
when you lose the ability to walk and that goes away, then
absolutely.
it's all these
Absolutely.
little things that we don't think about, but there's a lot involved in the human body that we don't aware of. So it's really about getting everything, keeping everything in balance because it's so easy to get our energy off.
It does. It does. More recently, I've been 48 years old. So, as you age, you're led to believe that, your eyes start to go, your metabolism starts to go, all those things. And I was reminded when I had to go and buy a pair of stronger reading glasses that, gosh, I really haven't been thankful for my eyes in a long time because we take sight for granted. We take
Mhm.
hearing for granted. We take smell for granted.
Right.
Yeah, cow poop doesn't smell very good, but what would happen if you could smell the apple pie?
Right.
So be thankful for the cow poop that you can smell because you can smell the apple pie too.
Yeah, you have the sense of smell, but yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff around our age and all these belief systems that we get around get around our age. But why are any of these true? I'm always questioning mine, like, why is that a true story?
Right?
Yeah, and I'd like to share people like multiple sclerosis. You'll find millions upon millions of stories out there that say it's incurable. But why is it incurable for you?
And nothing is incurable. If everything was curable, doctors would be out of a job.
Right. But everything is curable because we are spirit and
Yep.
we got to remember our true essence. And we have to find that path that resonates with you that can help you tap into that greater essence.
Absolutely.
And for you, it was magnets in the beginning.
It was magnets and it was very woo woo. And I had lots of people that were concerned that I was practice witchcraft or cult like
Hmm.
things. And, I'm like, you know what? I'm not ingesting anything. I'm not drinking the purple Kool-Aid. I'm simply sitting in silence with a notebook and finding these trauma energies or these beliefs or entity attachments or trapped emotions that are just weighing down on my energy and on my body. And I'm allowing myself to release them. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's all about feeling better that it's really nothing is woo woo when you're in that spiritual space, but the things that resonate with you are for you. So you have to
Yeah.
go explore those areas.
Yeah. There would be people who would say that I'm using horrible things to feel better. It's not for anybody else to judge what I'm doing to feel better, just like it's not for me to judge anybody else what they're doing to feel better. As long as they're not harming themselves or harming anybody else, let them be.
Yeah, be curious, not judgmental.
Absolutely.
To explore, to ask more questions, to be curious, like, why am I stuck in this anxiety, depression?
Yeah.
What's going on with me?
Yeah.
And that's what
Yep.
with your own talk therapy, they kept you in that stuck space. So why stay there?
Yeah. Absolutely. My mom was with the therapist for 9 years. And I finally told her, I said, I don't know if the therapist is helping you anymore because you don't seem to be moving forward.
Right. Because eventually will keep you stuck in place. You will reveal some things, but it doesn't
Right.
move you very quick.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
other ways to speed up that process. But you said something that's very interesting that we can talk about a little bit. You help people with setting boundaries. And I find most people have fluid boundaries, that the boundaries aren't really set, they're really adaptable, and they're not really honoring themselves. So, how do you
Hmm.
get people to set those boundaries?
Right. Right. Well, the thing about boundaries is boundaries are supposed to be set, and they're not always a hard set. Right. If you set a boundary that somebody is not allowed, that you don't want someone to talk to you in a rude manner, right? Someone calls you an idiot or they call you stupid, and you're like, you know what? I would really appreciate if you didn't call me names. The boundary is when you come in and say, if you call me names again, I will leave the room. That is the boundary.
Hmm.
And so if that person calls them a name again, then they say, okay, I asked you not to call me names, so I'm going to leave the room now. And that is how you hold the boundary. It's setting it and saying, okay, I'm going to give you an opportunity to not cross my boundary because you didn't know what my boundary was to begin with. So that's the first step, making sure that people know what your boundary is. And then you have to give them the consequence for crossing that boundary. And if you don't give them a consequence, what's the harm in them crossing it again? They're thinking, well, nothing's going to happen if I cross her boundary because she hasn't told me what's going to happen.
It wasn't really a firm boundary. And it's also to understand that you can't really control other people. You can tell them what you prefer. If
Right.
they don't honor what you prefer, then you have an action for that. You don't
Right.
stay in that space.
A lot of people are afraid to set that action. They're not afraid of setting the boundaries. They're afraid of having to take action if somebody crosses their boundary.
Mm.
That's where people get the anxiety from in setting boundaries.
Because if I do walk out of the room, what's the repercussions of that? That's where the mind gets us
Right.
up.
Absolutely. And if you're in an abusive relationship, that could end very, very, very badly for some people.
Hmm.
But 9 times out of 10, people are going to do one of two things. They're either going to respect your boundary and say, and not call you names anymore, or they're going to call you names and you're going to have to take that action. And eventually they're going to end up leaving your life because they no longer have control over you.
That's another big aspect that we need to dive into is control over you. We see this throughout society. Everyone's trying to tell you what's best for you.
Mhm.
So how do we take back control when that happens?
Practice. Really, it's practice. It's standing firm in your feet and your shoes and saying that I'm taking back my power. I'm going to respect myself enough to tell you that you're not allowed to do that to me.
Standing in your own truth of what's
Yeah,
right for you.
and it's sometimes it is not going to be easy. It's not. But it's like anything else. You can't just pick up a guitar and start playing the guitar. You have to practice. You can't just take back your control in one day and expect to be able to have your control all the time. It's a practice. And eventually, you're going to be able to have all of your control over your entire life, over your entire energy, your body, everything. And no one's going to be able to take it away from you.
Right. It is a practice, and a lot of people don't like practice. They want
Mhm.
results now.
Yep.
But sometimes we need to slow down and say, okay, I just keep doing these steps and I get stronger and stronger every time I do that.
One thing that made me realize that how quickly things can happen. I was 2 years free of anxiety and depression. And I was like, it's been 2 years. It took me 6 months to heal my anxiety and depression with energy healing and self care. So even though things may take human time,
Hmm.
right? 6 months is a long human time. But I look back now in the end of 2020, 6 months, it's where'd it go? It's gone. Poof. It went by so fast.
Yeah.
Think about how old you are and how quickly the last 40 years went by. 6 months is nothing. Nothing.
Right. It's really just a flash, living with anxiety, depression. Time seems to go really slow and life doesn't seem to move at all. It's really, if it's just taking those small daily steps, you can
Yeah.
definitely get out of that. That's all it is, those small daily steps. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be anything difficult.
No, no, it doesn't. If you do little steps, you change one habit. If you sleep in until 10 o'clock in the morning, but you don't go to bed until midnight, well, start getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning so that you can go to bed at 10 o'clock. Just shifting that one little habit of getting more adequate sleep is going to make a huge difference in how you feel.
You got to look for these little practices that you can shift. That's what I was reminding people today. So when your mind's really, really going, you need to stop and pause and say, why is that inner chatter true?
Mhm.
And really start to question our own thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something that just happens when you realize that there's a thought that, I don't know, the biggest one that everybody always brings up is, I'm not enough.
Hmm.
Why are you not enough? What are you not enough in? And if you're not enough in something, well, who told you you weren't enough in that? Ask all those questions. And it's so funny when somebody else asks those questions of someone, you get discombobulated and anxiety starts to raise, and you're like, I don't know. But when you can sit there by yourself with just a pen and notepad and ask yourself those questions, journal about them, you'd be amazed at what comes out on paper when you're just throwing everything up that is in your head.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a good idea to journal those thoughts out. When you ask those questions, sometimes they do stammer. They don't really know how to answer that because they never reflected on that before. And
Yeah.
it's really surprising. Sometimes when I ask people, what brings you joy? Sometimes they can't answer that.
I love that question.
Yeah, sometimes they don't know. They can't see any light.
Yeah. That's where the gratitude practice comes in. It doesn't have to be a gratitude practice. It can be a joy practice. It can be an appreciation practice. It can be a like practice. Write down 3 things a day that you like.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like these. I appreciate these.
Yep.
I can walk in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just little things like that. So it sounds like you're really, so you've been healed now for what, 4 years, you said now? It's been
Yeah.
four
Yeah.
years
About 4
after.
years. Yep.
That's why I tell people that we're never done. No one sticks a fork in you and say, oh, I'm done.
Right.
I don't need to practice anymore.
Right. Healing is about evolving. Healing is about growing.
Right. Just keeping your energy clear. What are you picking up during the day that's not serving you?
Right.
And we're always picking up things that aren't serving us. We're like a magnet.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Don't watch the news. Turn off the news and you won't pick up a whole lot.
To me, news is entertainment. It doesn't really affect me. But
I
I've had so much practice now. It's like life is my playground.
I choose not to watch the news just because I don't need to know what's going on outside, far outside of my bubble.
Well, we have
Uh,
no control over it.
right. Right.
But
Yep.
you have to realize you have no control over it. What do you do with that? It's up to you.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
they're trying to instill fear, and they're instilling a lot of fear in people.
Yeah.
That's how they roll over people, is by instilling fear. Careful of this, careful of this, careful of this. Then you stop honoring yourself. They've affected your boundaries,
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's when you start looking outside of you for everything to quote unquote fix you. You
right?
look for that next supplement or that next pill or that next drink that's going to make you feel better.
Right. But ultimately, it is up to us to stand in our own power, our own
Mhm.
sovereignty.
Yeah,
And that's a new way of being.
absolutely. And the next few years are going to be pretty amazing when it comes to people taking back their power and doing for themselves.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, doing for yourself, to realize that you are the creator of your reality. The thoughts that you have is the reality that you have.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that?
So it's called the Metamorphosis Project membership. And it is a monthly membership. I haven't decided on a cost yet, but it's a monthly membership where the client comes into a Facebook group, or I'll do it through email. But you set an intention as to what you want the healing to be. And each month it'll be a different theme. So it might be parental wounds, it might be anxiety, it might be depression. But throughout the month, I will do daily active healing activations to help clear what is contributing to that particular theme. And what that does is it's an easy way to clear away the energy without having to be present for a full appointment. And it's a little bit of energy that's being released each day. So the processing of the energies is a lot less. But there'll also be lots of self-care tips. There'll be extra videos for healings that people want to watch. Lots and lots of fun going on in that group, as well as the healing.
So where they can find out more information about this group?
You can go to my website, designyourexistence.com, and it's underneath of my services. The website is up for it, but I just have not opened up the group yet.
Hmm. How did that come to be?
You know, when I decided to start my business, I wanted something that was going to tell people that you are in charge of your life. You can design your life. You can design how you exist. You can design your reality. All you have to do is use your thoughts, use your emotions, and have fun.
It is really about have fun, to enjoy life. Like I said, now life is my playground. It
Mhm.
wasn't that way for 38 years when I was
Yeah.
sick and disabled. But now I can see how my thoughts were really giving me existence that was not my design. It was programmed from other people.
Absolutely.
So now you're teaching them how to have the right mindset, the right programming to design their existence at the
Yeah,
way they want to have it.
absolutely. Because we can have the life that we desire, we can have the life that we want. If you want to be making millions and millions of dollars, you can. But if you want to just be comfortable in your home and just have all of your needs met, you can do that too. How
Mhm.
do you want to live? How do you want to thrive?
Right. You can really design the life that you want. You can have a big, huge dream, or you can have a smaller dream. It's your life, and take back your power and really stand in your own truth.
Lead with love.
Oh, I like that. Always
Lead
lead with
with
love.
love. Lead with kindness.
Yep. Yep. And let go of the judgments, especially towards yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Be impeccable with your word. It's not just about being nice to people and saying what you mean and meaning what you say, but it's also about doing that with yourself. Be accountable to yourself for your thoughts, for your feelings, be responsible for your life. Our what happens to us in the past that causes trauma, causes emotional baggage, that's not our fault. It's absolutely not our fault. However, healing from it is your responsibility.
Right. Yeah. Healing is our responsibility. Life is our responsibility.
Yeah.
If you give your life over to someone else, it's going to be designed not according to your specs.
Right?
Is there any last nuggets of wisdom you would impart on the audience?
You are worth spending your time on.
Mm,
Don't think for a minute that any time that you spend on yourself is selfish. You are your first job. You wake up in the morning, you are the first person that you need to take care of before taking care of anybody else. So
yeah, that's very important. Make yourself a priority,
now I think it's more selfish if we don't.
right? We're trying to serve with an empty cup.
Mhm.
We can make ourselves whole, and that's perfect. So looking forward to see how you're going to impact the world with your community, your group, and sharing your light with the world.
Well, thank you very much.
So thank you for joining the conversation. It was a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.